I'm Steven, and that's Erock. We're from Just Got Played, and we are gaming through time.
Indeed.
So what does that mean? So we started with 1975, and we are doing videos for every year from 1975 on. We're talking about our favorite games that were published that year and the highest rated game on BoardGameGeek that's published that year as well. So as I mentioned, we did 1975 through 1979, and we did 1980 through 1984. Those videos are linked in the description down below if you want to go check those out. But in this video, we're going to be doing 1985 to 1989.
Yes.
Closing out the 80s before we... tearing down the Berlin Wall at the end of this one, I think. So
I lost all my wild 80s hair, so sorry about that.
Nice. All right.
Hey, Steve, before we get started, I just kind of want to break into something. So this is really the first time I'm going to call this philosophy and theology. Okay, so this is really the first time it matters in a list like this. But researching for this kind of list has really brought to my attention how many different versions of games there are. And it's really hard trying to fit that in. Well, what year should I put it in? The first year it came out, the year it had its biggest success, the one that's my favorite. So my original thought was I'm just going to go with what the geek says. And if there's multiple entries, those are multiple games. And then I thought, I don't really agree with a lot of their splits and not splits. So I'm basically doing it arbitrary. And the reason I'm calling it philosophy and theology is because my theory on this is if it's spiritually, practically, and thematically the same, it's the same game. So I just want to put that out there now. All you haters, get your typing fingers ready because I'm going to make you mad. Steve, what do you think about the whole what year this was released thing?
No, I mean, totally, right? Like already on the list, I had Balderdash, but technically, I don't think I've played Balderdash. I played Beyond Balderdash, which is just a superset of that game, right? So, but that's all right. Like, I feel like I've played Balderdash, and I know Balderdash was published in that year, and it was better than all the other games I've played in that year, right? So I'm just going to select it anyway.
All right. Well, I may make you mad, and I know I'll make some of you mad. So tell me why I'm wrong.
Ooh, light up the comments. All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and start us off with 1985 because I might make some people mad with this one. And that is because my pick is Pax Britannica. So Pax Britannica, it's actually not the full name. The full name is Pax Britannica, the Colonial Era, 1880 to the Great War. And this is all about the U.S., Japan, and a bunch of European powers colonizing the globe. Very imperialist, right? So I'm sure there's some people out there that are like, this theme is not for me, right? And I get that. But this game... I played war games and stuff when I was growing up, but this game is a sprawling game. It has 2 giant paper foldouts that encompass the entire globe, and you have these little cardboard pieces, and there's like 666, I think. I looked up little cardboard pieces that you put around the globe, and you're trying to do influence here, and get colonies here, and you're fighting with the other people here, and like you can complete the Panama Canal for some points over there, and it's just it's one of those war games one of those games that's going to take hours and hours and hours. I mean, you actually don't have so much conflict like in a war game here because it's a lot about political fighting and trying to control things as well as the units that are there. But you're, probably not in your best interest to just skip straight to the World War I or anything. But in this game, right, it's about the time when I played this because I would not play this type of game now, I don't think, right? Because it comes with a spreadsheet that looks like a tax form. Right? Like that you fill out every year. Like it literally says, take the total from line 4 and multiply it by, just like you're trying to manually fill out a tax form or something, right? This is not my kind of game. But like when I played it, it was kind of mind blowing. Like I've got the whole world and I'm just trying to do all this stuff and, for hours and competing against my brother. This game goes up to like 7 people, but I remember playing against my brother in this just sprawling experience. And it was about that experience that was just sort of a big deal to me. And so that's why for 1985, that's my highest rated game.
That's excellent. I don't think I have ever heard of that. The name is as sprawling as the game seems to be. And the way you described it is like, here's everything that ever happened. Now you do it. So that kind of sounds fun. It sounds like a computer game that I would absolutely play. I don't know about board games.
Yeah, it would be better as a computer game.
Right. Well, I'm going to go in a completely opposite direction than you did, because my pick for 1985 is Pictionary.
Oh, okay. Right.
So I just remember, and it's the same thing. I doubt I would play a lot of Pictionary anymore. There's just a whole lot of different alternatives and whatnot going on in the hobby at this point. But I remember playing with friends, family, everybody under the sun. If you've never played Pictionary, it's simple. It's basically you split into two teams, and usually one team's drawing something, their team's trying to get it. Sometimes both teams draw at the same time, and the first team to get it is right. But you get something like horse, and then you draw a horse, and then if you get it first, yay, you get the point, kind of thing. And this is the whole game. You just do this over and over again. I can remember back in the day, this came out in 85. I'm sure we were playing this in 86 or 87. And like I said, friends, family, everybody, we just had a blast playing Pictionary. So for me, it was a pretty clear choice for this year, being Pictionary. I'm sure there's a lot of good games I didn't play this year, because there's not a whole lot that I didn't play this year, but Pictionary is my choice. So that's where we're at.
Pictionary is a great game. I probably would not play Pictionary anymore, because there are other games that have stood on the shoulders of Pictionary that I would rather play. But however,
this is the foundation.
If I was in a party and somebody was like, let's play Pictionary, I'd be like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sure.
It's been a while. All right. That's
sure.
The Pictionary.
It's
bring
fun.
out my drawing skills.
You guys break out your guessing skills, because my drawing is awful.
Right.
All right. Can you guess what BGG says is the top rated game from 1985? Because if you looked at the list, you may have seen this one. It harkens back to one from one of our previous lists. So in 1977, we both picked Cosmic Encounter, and BGG users picked Squad Leader. So 1985 is Advanced Squad Leader, right? Which looks like more of a game system, right? There's just all kinds of scenarios and campaigns, and it's complex, right? The weight on BGG, I think, was 4.74 out of 5, right?
That's pretty impressive.
So
That's a pretty heavy game.
Yeah, I didn't realize actually that Advanced Squad Leader was quite that heavy. So that surprised me a little bit, but.
Probably nothing to it, Grognard. They're like, whatever. Yeah. It's just chits.
Did it come with a spreadsheet?
Right.
All right. Well, that's 1985. Now, 1986. I know this is a big one for you, because we've got some Milton Bradley Game Master Series games here.
Absolutely.
So I'm
a huge year.
All right, I'm gonna go take a nap while you rant on this one for a little bit, man. You go ahead.
All right. I don't blame you at all. Quite frankly, I think there were better choices in this year in this segment, in this 5 years, than in the rest of the other 4 years. Really, I have 6 or 7 games that I could easily have thrown in here. I'm not going to go into detail about a lot of them, but I'm just saying Shogun, which is now called Yakuza, and Fortress America, saying that's the Game Master series that Steve was talking about, which began with Axis and Allies, of course. These were the 2 follow-ups produced in the same year. They're both fantastic. I played both of these a ton as I was a kid. Not only that, Castle Risk came out this year, Fireball Island, Blood Bowl, Werewolf. This is a fantastic year. This is, if you could choose one year, like before, say, 95, this would be the year games are possible. And all that being said, my choice is D-Mocker. I think D-Mocker's fantastic, really. And this is one of the only ones, at least so far, where my current gamer is overruling my previous game, my kid gamer. Because I didn't start playing D-Mocker anytime near 1986. It was much later, but I have a very big appreciation for that game. For those of you unaware, it is a game that is about the German legislative process. So basically, you are running 7 consecutive elections in Germany, And generally speaking, you have 4 of them that you got to keep your eye on at any point in time. Like the one we're going to vote on now, the one we're going to vote on next turn, the turn after that, the turn after that. And they're all live. And you have all these different things. You're a political party, and there are like national beliefs or regional beliefs, and they might conflict with yours. Like maybe your party is pro Social Security, and the place that you're having the election right now is kind of anti Social Security, or pro being in the European Union, or against being in the European Union. And you can't really change the people's minds, but you can change your party line to fit what the people say. And there's all these kinds of little tweaks and twists and turns that you can do to kind of manipulate the system around to vote for your candidate and your party in the election. And then there's even sneakier stuff. If you're going to lose and you know it, then you form I forgot what it's called, an alliance.
Coalition?
A coalition, yes, with somebody else. Now, instead of finishing second and third, together, you're going to finish first, and you're going to split all of that. So there's all kinds of political machinations going on. I've been growing up in a 2-party system, so this whole massive party system with their multiple elections going on all at the same time, and I'm a part of every one of them. I think that's fascinating, and not just that. It's a really, really well-made game, well-designed game. The thought space is excellent. There's just so many different options to choose from and choices to do. I think it's just really good, and I would absolutely recommend playing it.
I have not played it, but I would not turn down to play because I've been interested in it for a while. Fun fact about Macher, I think I got this right. Every game at BoardGameGeek has a numerical ID, so you add a new game and it's whatever, hundreds of thousands or whatever they are now. Macher is 1.
I believe that is true. Macher is the first game ever put into the system. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
So, mentioned the Game Master series. Axis and Allies was the first one. I have that. Conquest of the Empire was actually the next one. I have that. Then Broadsides and Boarding Parties, which I do not have. And then this year was Fortress of America and Shogun. I have both of those. So I got 4 of the 5. And so I am going with a Game Master game. I am going with Fortress America for 1986. So I love Fortress America. So in Fortress America, you say you play as the United States, and then there are 3 people invading you. Like there's the East, the West, and the South. And they have a tremendous amount of units that they can allocate every turn for the invasion. But then they run out of units. So they have to quickly make a push to grab power centers from the United States. Because once they start running out of units, the United States actually sort of ramps up in power over time. Because not only does the United States never lose their reinforcements, they keep getting them throughout the game, but they also are building up these space lasers or whatever they're called, which are very powerful over time. I really like this as a 2-player game, but I mean, you could play it 3, 4, whatever. It's really solid. And they remade this in, 2012 or something.
I was going to ask you to play the remake.
I have not played the remake, and there was a strategy that I like to use in the old version that I think was modified so that you can't do that strategy in the new one, which is nice because if there's a dominant strategy, you want to change the game so that there's more than one way to play. But
that's just every way everybody plays. And what they do about it.
Yeah, I used to just fall back from the Western Front and let the Western forces invade and not try to fight them and make the big stand over the Appalachians in the South.
Yeah, because it's such a long way from California to the middle of the country where it actually matters.
So I think they changed it up, and there are some more power centers in the West now. So you can't just abandon the Western half of the United States while you're trying to resist.
People in California probably protested.
Maybe. But, you are not playing this game correctly unless when you roll a whole bunch of dice, you scream, Wolverines!
Yes, so absolutely. It's just full of the Red Dawn references. Yeah. I agree 100%. Another thing which they remade.
Yeah. So we had talked about this briefly, offline, that about what is the BoardGameGeek #1 game. And I told you it wasn't a Game Master game, and it wasn't a war game, but it was going to be obvious when I told you what it was. Did you figure out what it was?
No, I did not.
It is the first time we are going to see an 18XX game. It's 1830 railways and robber barons.
Hello, 18XX. Welcome to the party.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the first 18XX game was 1829. I don't know if 1830 is the second. I don't know the lineage of all
chronologically, that would make sense.
Yeah, so maybe it is. But this is maybe the most popular, one of the most popular of the 18XX games. And so in an 18XX game, you are running railroads, and there's a map. So this one has sort of the northeastern U.S. It stretches over to Chicago, and you've got New York, and so you're building stuff on the map, rails and things like that. But it's really about the stock manipulation of the different railroads, and very popular series. Lots of game in the series, and people who play these games love it. Like it's almost a lifestyle game for those
absolutely.
people.
There's definitely a barrier to entry in these games because the internet is rife with examples of people who have basically cut their own legs out from under them, and then they're done 2 turns into the game. So a little bit of a barrier to entry there, but after you get over that hump, then I'm sure it's incredibly engaging to try to micromanage all these little things.
Yeah. I love computer games along this line, like Railroad Tycoon. But I've never played it in board game form. I've played other things like Railways of the World, but never an 18XX game.
I've never played 18XX. I've played some Age of Steam and things like that, but never an actual 18XX game.
Yep. I would play it as long as I was also playing with a bunch of new players.
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah.
We're just going to school.
Yeah, right. All right. Are you ready to move on to 1987?
1987, absolutely. What you got?
All right. Well, so 1987, I have a game that blew my mind at the time. I haven't played it in a minute, and there are reasons why I maybe wouldn't play it now. But this was the original version of Arkham Horror.
You are absolutely correct.
And
you are feeding into my pre-talk here because we're getting into what version are we talking about. And I actually agree with you.
I had this version. I had the 1987 version that my brother bought in maybe 87 or 88, right? So we got it at a game store in Austin, Texas. We just went into this was before really there's no information on the internet or ordering board games on the internet, right? We go into a store and we're just looking around. He's like, oh, this looks cool. And we got it. And probably maybe the first co-op game I've ever played. So in Arkham Horror, you are people and you're in this town and you're basically running around the town trying to level up your character, get some better equipment or whatever, because you're trying to fight. You're trying to make sure that an old one doesn't come through a portal and destroy the earth. Very right. Cthulhu. But not that it wasn't the co-op, the fact that it was a co-op game that blew my mind. It was that it was a game you could play a board game solo. That blew my mind. This is the first time I've ever played a board game solo. And I was like, wow, I've played a lot of computer games and things. So, but I had never just by myself sat there and played a board game. And I sat there on the floor of my bedroom with this game and I played a solo game. And I was like, wow, that was fun. This is great. You don't need a computer to play a solo game. Amazing. And so, I've played a newer version of the game as well. We played it at my game night one night, although we didn't finish it because this game is just painfully long, right? We were this close to finishing it, and then some event happened, and now it's like maybe we're halfway done. And then everybody was like, let's call this one. And so that's really what it is. It's the length of the game that keeps me from wanting to play this anymore. But for the time, man, mind blown. Solo cooperative Arkham Horror, 1987.
Awesome, good pick. So for my 1987, I am also choosing the first version of something.
Oh, I got it.
To come later.
I know what it is. Fury of Dracula?
Yeah, that's it. Fury of Dracula. Absolutely. And this kind of falls in line with, if you've been watching these series, I like these hidden movement games. And here's just another one in the line. And, I think, again, this is spiritually, practically, and thematically the same as the versions that came after it, which I played. Never actually played this version, but I'm getting props for all the other versions. So very good. Like I said, hidden movement game. It's basically a bunch of investigators, Van Helsing, all these people. I forget. Anyway, they're trying to chase Dracula around Europe. And Dracula's trying to run and hide and build up his strength, and he leaves traps behind him for the other people to find. And then eventually, you get in this battle with Dracula. And the battle itself is kind of cool because instead of going into this long, drawn-out event, it's more of you play these cards that are kind of rock, paper, scissors. So that's really how the battle goes. It kind of speeds that whole thing up, but it's dripping with theme. You leave behind you as Dracula, like as you go, like dens of vampires and all kinds of other little traps and things all over the place. And the investigators are trying to find you, and they're using all these kinds of abilities. I think it's just fantastic. Period Dracula. We still play that. It's really good.
I have never played it, but I like this game. I watched the tabletop. One episode of Tabletop, they played this game, and I watched that. And I was like, oh, man, this looks fun. I would like this game. I am very confident that if I played this game, whether it was 3rd or 4th edition, whatever edition they're on now, that this would be my sort of stand-in pick for 1987 over Arkham Horror, right?
Yeah,
I feel like I would like it that much, but having not actually played it and only watched a playthrough of it, that was a bridge too far. I wasn't going to pick it, but that's
all right. We got it.
When you started talking, I knew what you're talking about because I saw that when I was looking at the published games. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a description of the game from 1987, and you could tell me if you know what it is. I don't even know how to pronounce it. So that's number one.
Fair enough.
It is, I guess it's a dexterity game because you're stacking stuff up. And on your turn, you actually choose one of the shapes from the table and give it to an opponent who has to stack it on their thing. Or you have some currency, I think it's called beans or something, that you can spend to pass that piece on to someone else. And that's it. Just stacking stuff up in weird shapes. It has a cool, weird, abstract art looking cover, which is just the
I think I actually know the cover. I just don't know the name.
It has more than one name, but the name of it from this year is Bausack. I'll call it
yes.
Bausack. If Patrick were here, I know what he would call it instead. But
yes.
But hey, you know what? I mean, I would play that, right? Like I would be awful. Fun. I would be awful at this game. My fine motor skills are not great.
I just play with other awful people like us. It all evens out.
I mean, I don't care. I'd knock stuff over and I'd laugh, and then I'd watch you guys play. Fine, whatever. It doesn't strike me as a game that would last that long either. So that's fine, right? I don't mind player elimination if the game is short.
Yeah, I agree. If the game is short.
Yep. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm excited here. I really want to hear what your pick is for 1988.
For 1988, my pick is Scattergories. This was a pretty rough year for me. I looked over the published games in 88. I didn't really have a whole lot here that I played. I'm not trying to downplay Scattergories necessarily. I don't think it's that great of a game, but we played a ton of it, really. For those of you who've never played Scattergories, basically you roll a die, and it has one of the letters of the alphabet on it. And then you have a list, and you need to fill out things to start with that letter. So your list might be like a furniture store, a brand of car, types of shoes, a bird. And if I roll B, I got to come up with something that starts with the letter B for every one of those categories. So that's basically the game. Because everybody has their own sheet, everybody writes down the stuff, and if you have the same answer as somebody else, neither one of you gets credit. So only unique answers count. That's Scattergories. This is another one of those games that I played with my family a lot, and probably in later years, like late teens, early 20s, we would, lived in different places, go on vacation together, and play Scattergories when we were hanging out. So I have a fond memories of Scattergories. And that's my 88. But I have a feeling you have something completely.
Well, but about Scattergories, I don't know if this is an official variant or if it's the rules or it's a house rule, but we used to play that you would try to think of something that was multiple words that started with that letter. So what I mean is, like,
I think you get bonus points.
Yeah. So if it was city and you rolled a W and you wrote Walla Walla, Washington, that would be 3 points.
That'd be 3 points. Right?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that I didn't know if that was just some house rule we play. When you've got these old party games, somebody taught you rather than you reading the rule book. So are you playing it right? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Especially those old games like when you were a kid, because you just played how they told you to play.
Yeah. Money on free parking and Monopoly. Okay.
Because that's the rules. Oh, okay. Those are the rules. What do I know?
All right. Well, so 1988, I am not going party game. I am going epic space game, and that is Merchant of Venus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have the version of Merchant of Venus that is, was it Fantasy Flight? They made a new version that had a tweaked version of it, but it also you can play the old version.
The base game.
Yeah. And so I think I've only actually played the base game way. I don't think I've played the new whatever the new changes are. And you know, it's a sandbox game. I like sandbox games. That sandbox games can be long, and so that makes them hard for me to get to the table. But I always do enjoy playing a sandbox game, and this is, you know, one of my favorites. It's got roll and move, so some people don't like that about it. But you can upgrade your ship and sort of mitigate the roll and move, and you know, you just decide what you're going to do. I'm going to go off and explore. I'm going to go collect these goods and try to sell them. I'm going to, what is it, like build factories to build better goods, or, you know, build a space station for better trading or something like this. There's just so many choices about what you could do when you're playing this game. And I loved those sort of space exploration games as video games. So I thought, well, you know, let's give this a shot as a board game. And yeah, I mean, we all just, you know, I've played it. I haven't played it that many times because it's long, but played it a few times, and it's just, you know, everybody at the table's like, yeah, that was fun. You know, sometimes you get a game and it's 4 or 5 hours long or something, and then people are like, you know, but everybody in this game, you know, people are like, yeah, no, that was great. I'd play that again, you know? So,
well, that's good for you. This was on my short list, but it's been a long time since I played this, and I never really had a good experience with that because it was it was just too long. And the people that I played with just kind of fizzled out over time and just ended up being a slog at the end. So I'm glad that you had a good experience with people and finished it till the end in good spirits.
Oh, yeah. You know, I mean, as I said with Arkham Horror, I probably wouldn't play it again because it's too long. But Merchant of Venus, I absolutely would play that again.
Yeah. I'll have to play.
And BoardGameGeek agrees with me that this is the number one rated game that was published in 1988. So I did get a crossover here. I had a couple earlier, so I'm doing all right. We should keep score.
Right.
Lloyd put
Someone
the score.
Should be keeping score.
All right. So, so I did want to give a shout out to another game from 1988, though. And it is only sort of a shout out and an honorable mention because technically I've never played it. And that is because Full Metal Planet, I played the heck out of as a video game.
Yeah, so did I.
But it is the same as a board game. It's not like it's, you know, they're related. It is literally the same game, but you're playing it against the computer. And that is a fascinating game in that it has, you know, these pieces on the board that move around, almost like abstract strategy, right? Like there's no hidden information. There's no dice rolling or whatever. It is strategy about where you place this, where these things move, and it, you know, can I get the two things together to flank to, you know, mess you up or whatever. And a computer game, you could do all kinds of customization with like logos and stuff and corporations, whatever. Like that was all great.
I probably spent more time with that than actually playing the game. I spent a lot of time.
Yeah, it was like little pixel art that you're
pixel art. Yeah. Just making my little logos on the stuff. Yes.
And this game was a like really high production value, not very many printed, super, you know, sort of collector's item, $300 a copy at minimum or something, right? So, you know, I'm probably
even back then.
Well, I don't know about back then, but now, like if you're trying to get one now, you'd spend hundreds of dollars getting one. And if you could, and I'm not even sure it was ever published or distributed in the US, although you could find copies. Yeah, I mean, I would play it if I ever saw it. That'd be great, but I probably never will even see it. So I'll
play it with you. Just get us a copy.
Yeah, I will just honorable mention that I spent a hell of a lot of time in that video
Only
game.
If I can make little pixel art on everything.
Yes. Let me buy a $500 copy so you can, you know, paint on it with your pixels.
Thank you, Stephen.
Get right on that. All right. So that was 1988, and now we're going to move on to 1989, the year the Berlin Wall fell. Mm-hmm. You have been talking about a lot of party games. Now it is my turn to talk about a party game from 1989.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah, and that is Taboo.
Okay.
So if you've never played Taboo, it's a team game, and the teams take turns. So on your team's turn, there'll be one person who is the clue giver, and everybody else is trying to guess. And then one person from the other team will be sitting over the clue giver's shoulder, because the clue giver has a card, and that card says, here is what people are trying to guess, but you can't say these words. Like, you're trying to get them to guess banana, but you can't say yellow or fruit or something, right? So you have to say, like, the funny thing in cartoons that make people slip, banana peel.
Potassium.
Yes, you said banana.
Potassium.
Right? Yeah, or whatever, right? And if you say one of the things that's on the card, the person on the other team buzzes you. They have a buzzer, bzz, and then you have to put the card away. That's a point for that team instead of your team, because there's a timer. How many cards can I get through in the time period? And it's a race for each team to get to some score first. And it would be nice maybe, and maybe there is a version with some more, more updated cards. And I have a way that I sort of cheat at the game a little bit. It's not cheating, but it's not maybe playing in the spirit of the game. But like, if you look at a card and it's like, here's the words you can't say, then my brain just immediately goes synonyms for the words I can't say. Right. So, yeah. So sometimes, but other times it's about the connections you have with the people that you're playing with. Like, I turned over one time and it was New Orleans, I think, was what you're trying to get people to say. You can't say jazz or Louisiana or, all this stuff. And I just look at it and I go, your favorite sweatshirt, what does it say on it? New Orleans. Right? So, it's about thinking outside the box and some of the relations you have with people. And, so we always have fun playing with it. And my brother's a real jerk when I play with him, because he will buzz me even when I didn't say something wrong. He'll buzz me and I'll be like, wait, what did I say? And then he starts laughing because he's just wasting my time, like, come on.
Sounds like a brother.
He's so competitive. It's hilarious.
I want to see a version of this that's hooked up like Patrick's electric operation. That would be fun. When you get buzzed, you really get buzzed.
I really got buzzed. You can find that video on our channel, 30,000 volt stun gun hooked up to me while my partner tried to pull bones out of operation and failed. Good times.
Good times.
All right. So what have you got for 1989?
1989, this is probably pretty personal choice, but my choice is going to be Space Hulk. I played a ton of Space Hulk with a very particular friend of mine back in the day. We would just set it up and play. For those of you unaware, Space Hulk is very much Alien. It is basically Nemesis now, but that was Games Workshop's version of that without stepping on any licenses or anything, incorporating in Space Marines and Tyranids from their universe as opposed to just Alien from the movies and stuff. But that's basically the game. You're in a spaceship or whatever, colony or whatever, and you get the blips on your radar, and the aliens just keep rushing at you, and you're a Space Marine, and you're shooting at them, and you got to stay alive a certain amount of time or rescue a person or something, depending on the mission. So it's very much Alien, the game. I think it had very much the same suspense too, because it even had the little things that were just blips. You know what I mean? Like when you first caught an alien was coming, you didn't see an alien, you just saw a blip. And so a blip would like walk down a corridor, and you don't know what's there. Is it one little guy? Is it two big guys? Who knows? It's just a blip, so that whole, suspense was built into the game. And we usually lost, but it was a whole lot of fun going down. Just like I said, just like you're in an alien movie. So for me, it's Space Hulk.
If you say Games Workshop, then it must have some cool minis then, right?
It did, yeah, especially back at that time when nobody was really doing that. So, yeah, that's obviously one of the draws also is, like I said, they had, their whole 40K and fantasy universe going on anyway with the Warhammer. So this was really Tyranids and the Space Marines. And if you really wanted to get into it, you could really paint and make the units right. Just have them all fancied up on the spaceship as the minis are great. Yes.
Well, I mentioned that because it is a segue to BoardGameGeek's number one game from 1989, Games Workshop Fantasy Minis. Can you name it? HeroQuest.
Oh,
so
way off.
I think HeroQuest, maybe Milton Bradley or something, some big publisher, but it's in conjunction.
Gotcha.
With those fancy minis from Games Workshop. So I haven't seen this game in person. I've only seen pictures. I haven't played this game, obviously. But it's a dungeon crawl with all kinds of cool minis. And to be honest, I've seen so many pictures of it with like 3D terrain and stuff. Like the line is blurred for me because people who have this game have a ton of stuff for this game, and the line is blurred for me between what is the game and what is just upgrades people have done to the game. So
most of that is really just the game. If you go and it's unbelievably expensive to try to get this stuff from the past. But if you go and look, these are all official. I know exactly what you're talking about. They're all little Hex 3D and they're big. Some of them's big and you got bridges going between them. I've played Advanced HeroQuest a few times, so I know it's pretty. It's not that in depth. It's really more of a big in depth experience as it is the actual game. It's not that well. You know what I'm saying? But
you know what this
all
must
that
be.
Stuff is go ahead.
This must be Hasbro, because I think recently didn't they have their own crowdfunding platform, and didn't they use it to crowdfund a new version of this game?
I think that's a different one. There's two of them at the same time, but somebody in the comments tell us why they're wrong.
Yeah, right. Someone enlighten me, please. I need enlightening.
Indeed.
1989 was so long ago.
Yes, it was. But it is also the year that Pretty Hate Machine came out. Just saying, you're going to feel old.
Nice. Lloyd, cue the music. No, wait, don't. YouTube will shut us down.
Oh, right. So, that's all right, because next time we'll have Trent Reznor on our video just to make sure everything evens out. So, Trent Reznor's top 10 games next time.
with live bears.
And live bears, yes.
Yeah. All right, cool. So, well, there you go. Gaming through time, 1985 to 1989. There are a lot of games in this period, a lot that we probably haven't played. So tell us in the comments, what did we miss? And you know what? I might go play those games. I'd love what?
What did Steve miss?
What did Steve miss? He didn't miss a thing. He never misses a trick, right? Yeah. All right. And hey, you know what? Look down in the comments too. You can see, or down in the description of the video, you can see where our Discord channel is. Go over to our Discord channel. Tell us there. How dumb we are and what we missed.
Yeah, any opportunity you can, just tell us how dumb we are.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm Steven. That's Erock. Thanks for joining us. Gaming Through Time.
Thanks, y'all. See you next time.
You're fired. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a comment or hit the like button. It really does help us out. If you have suggestions for future videos, let us know in the comments as well, and then subscribe to see what we come up with next.